Hi, and welcome to the Nothing We Do is Ordinary podcast. This is our first attempt at this podcast, and today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Vamsi Yiskala. He is an expert calibrator of audio and working on video as well.
Yes.
He's working on doing video calibrations and getting trained for that and certified for that. But I've known Vamsi for at least maybe about a year and a half, 2 years now. So Vamsi is one of the best calibrators I've ever worked with. He has a very in-depth knowledge on the topics of audio, acoustics, speaker placement, calibration and EQ of the speaker system. Thanks for joining us first of all, Vamsi. I really appreciate you being here today.
Sure.
It means a lot to us and being part of the first podcast. I'd love to find out from you, why is it that you're so passionate about audio calibration, about audio in general? What got you into this field? Because I find very few people in the industry who are so in depth and go so deep into the topic. I've seen you actually take at one point, I think Nitya mentioned you've taken for one single calibration took 100 measurements.
Yeah.
Because you want to get it so perfect. So what drives you to try and get this level of perfection? And does that level of perfection, is it even going to be heard by the end user? Does it make a difference?
Yeah. So first, thanks to Avenue Zone for having me here on the podcast, and thanks to Ashish sir for this.
I'm glad to have you here.
Yes. So so the thing, I started working as a calibrator.
Right.
So started when I've been to multiple theaters. So and then I used to hear differences in every theater. It's not the same in every theater.
Yeah.
And then so some theaters sounded good, some theaters sounded average, and then below that. And then when I started asking people who calibrated those systems,
Right.
so they used to tell we did whatever the automatic calibrations that we get.
Yeah.
So there are many systems out there. So they use their whatever softwares and then they calibrated the systems.
Right.
And some are really good and some are bad. The one which sounded good because not just because of the calibration, it's because of the room.
Right.
And some systems sounded bad with very expensive system just because of the room is bad.
Right.
So then I started digging deeper into the topics and got to know that so it's not just the calibration, it's just the room, it's just the right placement, it's just right placement of the seats, everything. It depends on each and everything.
Right.
And at the end of the day, a calibrator comes and calibrates, and then now it becomes very easy for him to calibrate the system.
Right.
If he can't calibrate a system that is already broken.
Right.
So if everything aligns, so he can probably come, sit for a few hours, and then he can finish the calibration and then go.
Right.
So right, you're mentioning that we took many measurements for one particular seat. So that was happening because the room was not good, and so it was too reverberant, and some rooms are too dead.
Right.
And so even the HVAC in the room, it's not properly done.
Right.
And many things that happens in a room.
I've seen you go to the point where you won't leave it till it's perfect. So what drives? See, I mean, to go to that level, you have to have a real passion for what you're doing.
Yeah.
I've seen very few people in the industry who have that kind of passion for actually getting to that level of perfection. So what drives you so much to get this level of perfection?
So because while calibrating the system, so I'll be at the after calibration, I'll sit and have some reference scenes.
Right.
I watch those scenes, and while calibration, I see, let's say if I leave this particular dip, or maybe let's say if I leave this response as it is,
Right.
and let's say if I EQ this particular frequency response and see the difference. So like that, I used to watch scenes before, after,
Right.
and now I have a one particular reference that if this is the kind of response that you are getting at this reference position, so this is the kind of output that you are getting.
Right.
So I just don't want to leave that one particular thing, which can be done actually.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, but we need to have some flexibility from the client end. So because most of the times people used to call me at the end of the project, where everything is already set.
Right.
So I can't move the subwoofers.
Right.
I can't move anything. So at that point of time, so I don't have much thing to do. But I still have, I can play with delays. I can play with some of the things to get the right response at the thing. And at the same time, I have to make sure that delay doesn't go too long. So I'll make sure that delay as less as possible, at the same time, perfect response at the listening position, which I think we can do with a very good product like Mini DSP 2x4 HD.
Right.
So which we can EQ the subwoofers. So initially we used to go switch off the subwoofer,
Right.
and then we have to take individual measurements.
Sub, you go and measure it, and then
So
it's a pain. Yeah.
with mini DSP, so we can
Mute each.
we can mute each and every subwoofer in the software itself,
Absolutely.
and it's very easy, hassle free to do.
Right.
And so I'll just try to play with delays, and at the same time don't add more delays,
Right.
and I'll try to play with some filters, and so try to align phase at least at that crossover region 1 octave above and below, so that
Right.
it doesn't sound too bad. And so I mean that's how we just start and goes, and we see.
I know a lot of people watching this podcast, and maybe some of them will be integrated, some will be, and customers will say, but what is the point of putting in this much effort for a calibration?
Yeah.
I mean, so much of my time is going, extra 3-4 hours. Will the client even appreciate it? Will the client even understand it?
Yeah.
And is it worth that much time? Can I charge for it? Can I make any money off this? It seems like the industry is sometimes focused just on the financial aspect of it.
Yes.
Which I don't know, me personally, I feel that, if you can give a client, you can give your best possible outcome of that project to the client. When they're spending whatever amount of money they're spending with you, if you can give them the best possible results from that, isn't that in itself worth something? And won't that possibly make your reputation better, make you get more, projects from that client or more referrals from that client because they're so happy?
Yeah.
And also, if one of their friends comes in, their family comes in, somebody comes in and they hear it, and won't they say, wow, who did that setup for you? Doesn't that make a difference, Vamsi? Or
Right.
why is it that the industry is so concerned with, okay, what is the financial aspect of this? How does it work how does it make me more profitable?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you one thing. I mean, I've seen people with broken systems.
Yeah.
So when they call, I mean, people get to know about calibrators when their system sounded bad.
Right.
And that too, when someone commented on that system that this is bad, it is not how it should sound. So when they call calibrators to calibrate the system, any calibrator in India, so once they calibrated the system, the client is the first person to notice the difference because he's been with that system for so long, and he
Right.
knows that difference.
Right.
Then he will spread that word of mouth to everyone, that so how calibration makes such a huge difference
Right.
in any home theater. And so even dealers now are trying to calibrate their client systems.
Right.
But the problem is, as you said, it takes so much time to calibrate a system, and they just don't want to make lose out their whole day just for calibration. And one more thing, even clients doesn't know. Some of the people know, but most of the times, so they think so it's straight away plug and play system, so
Right.
we don't have to calibrate it. But at the end of the day, once you educate your client that calibration, regardless whether it's audio or video, if it is calibrated, then only it will sound good, and then visually also it looks good.
And do you feel like, taking the time to educate a client on what calibration is, will that help you sell them better products, higher end products, more luxury products?
Yes, for sure.
It will?
That's the first thing that we
Okay.
do actually, because
Wow.
if you educate your client,
Right.
then he forget about. Once you educate him, so
Right.
he'll start digging deeper into the things, and
Right.
he will definitely ask some other people whether, see, I've got these suggestions from this particular guy, and he's telling me that so this has to be, the right money has to be spent on this particular
Yeah.
product.
Yeah.
So and then he will start asking people, and then he'll get answers from everyone,
Yeah.
regardless whether it's from forums or online. So he can dig deeper, and then he'll again get back to you and say, so whatever you said is right. Because, and one more thing that we usually say, we usually tell clients that it's not about how much you spend on the system, it's about how much value that you're getting out of that system.
Yeah.
So because you might spend a CR on a theater,
Right.
and it will not sound good if you don't calibrate it well, if you don't design it well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I've seen people spending a CR for a hall. So you can spend
Of course,
money,
yeah.
but you have to choose the right product for that particular
Right.
region. So you can't go. Every speaker is different.
Right.
That's the reason why we have multiple manufacturers.
Absolutely.
So you have to see what room you're actually considering. So
Right.
you have to consider the things, where you're sitting, everything. Then decide what speaker you have to go with, what brand you have to go with,
Right.
with whom you want your theater to be designed.
Absolutely.
So then you can do this. But in the first place in India, not only in India, in many places,
Yeah.
people first straight away start with their budget. So
Right.
I would suggest them, don't start with the budget. First you just know what you want first thing. then you go audition, talk to people, then you'll get to know, okay, so if I want this kind of experience,
Right.
then I have to spend at least this much of amount, regardless of the brand.
Right.
First, they need to know what kind of experience that they want.
Right.
Because straight away, we have seen people coming to the showrooms asking, so I want a home theater and have a budget of 10-15 lakh rupees.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense, because as an integrator, as a dealer, or as a distributor, you don't know what kind of experience he is actually looking at.
Right.
So you need to know first thing. So that's the reason why. So we are also recommending dealers to come up with different rooms, different demo rooms,
Right.
so that they can have multiple setups in different rooms. And
Multiple experiences.
Yeah, experience. So
Yeah.
these are basic experience, these are mid experience, these are high end experience.
Right.
And then the client will decide, okay, so maybe I like the sound of the first room,
Right.
and maybe the experience, the bass of the second room. And then we can sit with the client, we can mix and match, and then we can come up with a budget. So,
Right.
so this will be the minimum budget that you have to spend to get the same kind of experience,
Right.
regardless of the brand.
Yeah.
Because the price varies.
Right.
So you can tell this is the ballpark, the initial ballpark that you have to spend. So, and the brand starts from that particular price point and goes as high as possible.
Wow.
Depends on client's budget.
And you touched on education. Now, we've really tried hard to help educate in whatever way possible we can. We've launched our university.
Yes.
We're trying to give trainings. We want dealers to know about room design, about calibration, about acoustics. So where do you feel that lies in the industry? Where how much more is required? What else is required from our side? What more should be happening so that every dealer feels comfortable going the extra mile and doing the calibration, going the extra mile designing a room for their client. I mean, again, it shouldn't, in my opinion, it shouldn't be just about the budget. We have to, at the end of the day, we're selling a service, and we should be more competitive on who's giving the best service.
Yes.
The brand at the end of the day is not going to make as much a difference, but it's really about how well you deliver that experience. I forgot who I was reading about the other day. They said it best. When I'm sorry, I was reading on Keith Yates' website. He's one of the best integrators in the world, right? So he said that on his website he says that when we are making our premier room for you, what we try and do is transform you into that experience. So all the lights are completely off. The sound is enveloping you. There's no extra noise like HVAC noise or anything like that. It's literally he measures the room so that it's beyond what human hearing limits. Even less than that is the ambient noise in a room. There's nothing and what they want to do is make sure that you are transformed into the experience so much that you feel like you're part of what you're watching.
Yes.
And that's like he's like, we create experiences for you. We don't just create rooms. So I think that's something that is really not yet understood. On a certain level, in the industry, and that's something which I think we have to start to get towards.
Yes.
What do you feel about that? About getting dealers to understand that concept and getting them to get more educated on these topics.
I mean, that's a very good idea. First thing, so I mean, first thing, if the dealer knows more about the product, and if the dealer knows more about how that product can transform a room,
right?
So because the dealers are the mediators between a client as well as a distributor. So
absolutely,
because most of the clients approach dealers than distributors.
Right.
So first thing is, I mean, the dealer has to know everything.
Yeah.
So he has to be a perfect man, regardless whether it starts from the business perspective. At the end of the day, he has to calibrate his system, his team at least. So he has to know everything. I mean, training a dealer is the first thing that we have to focus on.
Right.
I mean, which you are actually doing. I mean, and I've also been, I'm also attended a couple of trainings of yours.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's absolutely fantastic.
Thanks,
and
thanks.
So I mean, in the coming trainings that Avenue Sound is going to conduct, regardless whether it's audio trainings or video trainings, so I would actually suggest and request the dealers who are in touch with Avenue Sound to register for the trainings and attend the training, so that you'll get to know more about the product. It's not just Avenue Sound products, it's about the products regardless of the brand. So you will get to know what things you have to do in a room, what things not to do. First thing here Avenue Sound is going to teach you is what are the things that you are not, you should not do them. First thing, the rest will come apart. I mean, it will follow. So first thing is, you should know what you should not do in a theater room, because most of the times people do the things which need not to be done in
Yeah.
that particular theater.
Absolutely.
So first thing is they do that only. So first things you need to know these things, and then there are multiple trainings that Ashish sir is going to conduct. So audio as well as video trainings. So people can, I mean, dealers can register for it, and then I request them to attend the trainings first, so that you will get to know the value of the training session. And I mean, after that, you will be very happy while calibrating your system, because you know if something happens in the middle of the calibration, you know how to tackle that situation. Because here it will be a complete hands-on training. So complete 2 or 3 days of training are going to happen. So he will be teaching you in person. So he'll be telling you, so if this is a situation, because he faced many issues while calibrating the system, so he knows how to tackle that particular situation, and he is going to teach you how to tackle that situation in your room, in any room, when you're calibrating. So you don't have to worry about that time, so you can easily tackle that, and then you can get a very good results after that. So I would suggest you to research for these trainings. So you can straight away go to Avenue Sound Academy, and then you can register for the upcoming trainings, and the team will get back to you when there are trainings. So
Thanks, Vamsi. I mean, I find these trainings. I'm by no means a teacher or an expert or anything. I honestly find these trainings to be one giant networking session. In our first training, we had Dr. Harsh Jain, who really understands this topic so well. He's one of the best surgeons in the country, and he has a passion for audio, just like you, and he studied mini DSP a lot, and he came down for the training, and he helped us understand concepts of mini DSP which we were not familiar with as calibrators and audio experts. He was teaching us things about, in the training. So it's really a getting together of minds. We all exchange ideas. We learn from each other, and I think that these trainings can be a stepping stone to starting into maybe something you're not doing. And once you start doing it, like Vamsi, you've been doing it for a while now.
Yes.
You've taken it to the next level. We learn from you now. So whenever we have questions, we call you up. So it's great to see that. I'm really excited to see that calibrators in India and experts in India are integrators in India are now taking such a step to get so passionate about these topics. Really trying to grow their expertise on these topics, grow their knowledge, and I really feel like knowledge is everything.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, someone can take away your money, they can take away your house, they can take away your clothes, they can take away everything. But the one thing they can't take away is your knowledge. No one can take that away from you. So the more we grow our knowledge, the more successful we can be. I keep hearing. I watch a lot of NBA basketball, and I keep hearing that this term they use. They want to perfect their craft.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to try and do the same thing. We're try and perfect our craft and what we do. Whether we're working in automation or we're working in Wi-Fi or working in AV, doesn't matter. But we should be trying to perfect our craft and be giving the best possible experiences to our customers, and that in itself will help us stand out.
Yes.
To another level.
Definitely.
Yeah.
One more thing, guys. So here in the podcast, so we are trying to share the things that we face usually.
Yeah.
At the same time, so
Absolutely.
we want to hear it from you also, because so we hardly might have reached 10% audience, and so we might have calibrated, let's say, hardly very few systems, and we know very less, first thing, and we also want to learn from you guys.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
it's just not we Avenue Sound train you. So it's that, so we take knowledge from you guys also. So while doing that in-hand calibration, so we might also learn some of the things from you guys. So you may teach us that. So this is how we follow, because we have multiple ways to reach the end. So we might use, let's say, REW software. You might use Smart. So one other guy might use Datasat. So regardless of the software that we use, at the end of the day, we have to achieve the same output. So we can share our knowledge among ourselves, and then we can grow all together. So that's the main aim of Avenue Sound. So
Absolutely. Thanks, Vamsi, for that. I really appreciate that. That's very nice. Insights from you, and I encourage everyone to please subscribe to the podcast. We're gonna have more topics coming up, and we'd love to hear from you. If there's any particular topics that you want us to talk about, we're happy to talk about those. Write in the comment section, like the video, like the podcast, and stay tuned to the Nothing We Do Is Ordinary podcast. We really will be coming out with more topics soon, have more guests on board, and thank you again, Vamsi, for joining us today. It was really a pleasure having you here. We learned a lot from you, and we hope that this hope we continue to get together and chat like this.
Definitely. So so just subscribe to Avenue Sound Academy. So you're going to see very interesting videos coming up down the line. So, and even the trainings.
Yeah, so it's avenueuniversity.in. Please do check it out. We have some trainings on there coming up. We we're trying our best, and if to hold trainings as often as possible. And they're practical trainings, they're hands-on, so you get a chance to really work with all the different products and concepts. And if you have any ideas for trainings that you would like to see have take place, let us know. We'd be happy to try and incorporate those into future training sessions. So thank you guys again for listening and watching to the Nothing We Do Is Ordinary podcast, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.